The 2020 NFL draft class has played one full season, and there have been both good and bad players relative to their draft position. Players like Justin Jefferson and Justin Herbert have wildly exceeded draft expectations, as Jefferson broke the rookie receiving yards record with 1,400, and Herbert had 36 total touchdowns. However, for every Jefferson or Herbert, there were players on the other end of that spectrum, and that's what we're going to discuss in today's video. Rookies that were disappointing in year number 1. Now, I'm going to say this several times throughout the video, but just because one player is on the list or in today's video does not mean they are a draft bust after 1 year and that they are doomed for the rest of their NFL careers. These guys are younger than 25 and were selected as high as they were for a reason. And not only that, but their first NFL season and the preparation for their first NFL season was by no means normal, and even the simplest things can sometimes get in guys' heads, and hopefully if they had a disappointing first year, it was something as simple as that. Players like TJ Hawkinson were disappointing in 2019, as he had over 100 yards in his first career game, but finished with less than 400 yards on the year. However, he made the Pro Bowl in year number 2. He rebounded, and so can every player in today's video. And before we get started, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as each only take a second to do, and all support is very much appreciated. Now let's begin. And we're going to start today's video with the Eagles selection of Jalen Reagor. 1 year later, this sticks out like a sore thumb for obvious reasons, given who was immediately taken after him, which was of course Justin Jefferson. During the 2020 draft process, it was widely acknowledged the top 3 receivers were, in some order, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, and CeeDee Lamb. But between the top 3 and really the next 5 or 6 guys between wide receiver 5 and 10, it was also widely acknowledged that Justin Jefferson was wide receiver 4. And in a lot of mock drafts leading up to the draft, the Eagles were a lot of the time penciled in with taking Jefferson at 21 overall. Of course, Burrow was 1 and Chase Young was 2, but after that it was a mix of picks 3 through 20, and most of the time, draft analysts had Jefferson mocked and cemented to Philly at 21, only for Howie Roseman to take an inferior prospect, and a surprise to everyone in what can be best described as shocking. Not surprisingly, the Minnesota Vikings then took Jefferson 1 pick later, and as of now at least, the rest is history. Through 1 year, Jalen Reagor has 31 catches for 396 yards and just 1 touchdown, while the pick behind him has over 1,000 more yards and 7 times the amount of touchdowns he has. This pick would not be viewed as good to begin with, but when a generational player, and yes, generational for Jefferson given he did what no other player has ever done, is drafted 1 pick later, is always going to look bad. Now, there is a lot more that needs to be said than Jalen Reagor bad, Justin Jefferson good, because it's a lot more complicated than simply saying that. The quarterback situation in Philly in 2020 was not good, and while Jalen Hurts is going to be the starter in 2021, who knows how he'll do as the long-term answer. Obviously, wide receivers cannot produce to the maximum of their ability if they have poor quarterback play, and Kirk Cousins, as polarizing of a player as he is at times, was without a doubt better than Carson and Jalen Hurts in 2020. But with an offseason together and hearing about the Jefferson pick a million times, hopefully this lights a fire underneath Reagor, and hopefully Jalen bounces back in 2021. Next is ironically the pick directly before Jalen Reagor, and that is K'Lavon Chaisson of the Jags. This pick was from the Jalen Ramsey trade, and the plan heading into the draft was to get another pass rusher opposite of Josh Allen, given how public Yannick Ngakoue was about wanting out of Jacksonville. So drafting a first-round prospect from a national championship winning team in which he was a good defensive player was a good pick at the time. Chaisson brought a winning attitude and was a good leader, given he wore the coveted LSU number 18 jersey. And for those that don't know, number 18 on LSU is a huge deal, and they give it to players who have the team's respect and caliber and everything of that nature. So a good character, good player, winning attitude, to a team that hasn't done a lot of winning in the last decade aside from a 1-year outlier in 2017, was a good pick, and had it worked out in 2020 the way it was supposed to, we would be looking at a great defensive line of the future. But 1 year in, Chaisson has 1 sack, just 19 tackles, and started just 3 games during his rookie year. To be fair to Chaisson, his fellow teammate Josh Allen did not have a good second year, and for pass rushers it usually takes some time to get good because the strength and physicality of NFL linemen is for real. What may be a bit worth looking into for Chaisson though is he played in the SEC and was routinely playing against good linemen at the collegiate level, so 1 year in it is at the slightest bit concerning for how he played in year 1. With Trevor coming in and the direction of the franchise looking up for the first time in a few years, this could motivate not only K'Lavon, but the entire defense, and with the Texans being the Texans and the Colts quarterback situation being unknown, the Jags could sneakily rattle off a few wins and could definitely scare some teams in 2021. Caleb Vaughn and Josh Allen will play a big part in that in the near future, and Chase Young will be just 22 years old at the start of next season, and with a season already under his belt, he should be good to go moving forward. Next is Henry Ruggs of the Raiders for multiple reasons. So when looking at Ruggs' rookie year and other fellow rookie receivers, it is a bit different than the Jalen Reagor, Justin Jefferson situation. Jefferson was regarded as a better prospect, and it was a stunner when the Eagles didn't select him with him still on the board. Ruggs, on the other hand, was considered one of the top 3 receiver prospects, and it wasn't really a surprise when the Raiders drafted him at 12 overall. But 1 year later, Ruggs was very much a disappointment, though as we said, for multiple reasons, it is not just a matter of Henry Ruggs sucks and will not be a good NFL player because of it. He was drafted in the top 12, and while it is okay to draft a receiver that high, don't get me wrong, it would also be smart to give that said player the football more than the Raiders did Ruggs in 2020 and try to incorporate him in the offense more than they did. Ruggs finished 5th on the team in receptions and 4th in yards, and that is concerning because of what that may mean moving forward. There are several questions that should be asked about this, and they are things like, is Ruggs just not good? Is he speed only? Or do they not believe in him, or things of this nature? But what needs to be said is we live in a day and age of football where, I'm not saying Ruggs is a one-trick pony, but we live in a world where even if he is, or anyone else is for that matter, it is incredibly easy to scheme players the football and give them touches if they are electric with the ball in their hands. Henry showed flashes of this in his rookie year, like with a game-winning touchdown catch against the Jets, or with a 2-catch, 118-yard performance against the Chiefs, but there were countless games where he didn't do much, and that has to change in 2021. Ruggs' production or lack of is not fully on him though, as he had just 43 targets in year 1, and when you spend a first-round pick on a receiver, it would be wise to get them the ball more than 3 times per game. I'm going to be as honest as I can when I say this. I like Ruggs a lot, and I like Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs, but I do not think the Ruggs selection was good at all, because I don't think he'll ever put up statistically or do what he is capable of, because he will always, again, and this is my opinion, he will always be in a limited role in that offense. I don't think Derek Carr is a great fit for Ruggs, and his style of play, and through 1 year that is absolutely the case. Hopefully things change in year 2 and beyond, but for now, the Raiders have spent a first-round pick on a receiver that they have targeted less than 3 times per game. And the last player we're going to discuss at length in today's video is Jeff Okudah of the Lions. Before we start with Jeff, I am going to say there's going to be a few players we'll briefly talk about at the end, so it's not just these 4 players and then see you later, thanks for watching, because that is not the case. But Jeff was selected at number 3 overall to a team that is notoriously bad and was looking to get a true number 1 corner with the trade of former Lions corner Darius Slay. Now, if you're a fan of my channel and have watched the channel's videos for a while, by the way, if you have, I really appreciate that, then you know one thing I have said and will always say for the rest of time is how difficult it is for a corner playing in college to make the transition to being a corner in the NFL. It's one thing for Jeff, or really any other corner, to play on Saturdays against Donovan Peoples-Jones, KJ Hamler, and other receivers he faced at the collegiate level, to go to them, to playing every Sunday players like Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen, Allen Robinson, and Mike Evans. There's no telling how hard of a transition that is, and that's a reason why corners seemingly always struggle in year 1, and why, as you would hear in a TV broadcast, why young corners routinely get picked on. And Jeff, despite being a top 3 pick, which is insanely high for a corner by the way, was no exception. He finished his rookie year with a PFF grade of 41.8, which classifies as poor. With no preseason to really season him up and get a few games under his belt, this hurt Okudah and several other rookie corners in year number 1. But the good news is he is just 22 years old and he can only go up from here. And last, there are a few other players we'll discuss. Tua obviously didn't have a great rookie year by any means, but I don't think he was a disappointment either. Jordan Love, the quarterback the Packers selected, produced nothing. So from the standpoint of getting production from players, that pick for Green Bay is obviously a huge disappointment a year later, but they knew that going into it, so it's okay if you get where I'm coming from. The last true disappointment from the class we'll discuss quickly is tackle Isaiah Wilson of the Titans. He had a lot of off-the-field issues and played a total of 3 snaps in his rookie year, and those 3 snaps were kneel downs at the end of a game. It is a true question mark whether he will ever play for them or if he will ever play again in the NFL. He, as of now, is a draft bust, but we'll see how this turns out in the next year or 2. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps a ton, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the continued support. We recently had 19,000 subscribers, and I am appreciative of every single one of you guys. Now, I released this video the Saturday, the day before the Super Bowl, so please have a great Super Bowl weekend. I cannot stress this enough. Stay safe. See you guys next time. Love you guys. Deuces. Peace.